Coming at you today with a preview for The End is Nigh from Mystic Ape Games, which should be on Kickstarter. If not now, then very shortly, unless you've already missed this, in which case look for it and find out. But we are going to be previewing the game. This is Roll for Crit. How you doing?
And just as we said, this is a preview with a prototype copy. So if it is, this is right after the Kickstarter or later, they probably actually have a much better version. This is more simple preview art and stuff. So
yes, of course, as always, that is the case. So this is sort of a hidden roll deduction game. The idea is you're a bunch of survivors in a bunker before the world is about to end, and you have learned that some people in your group are secretly cultists, and you're trying to figure out which ones they are. And if you are a cultist, you want them to be in your group, and if you're not, you don't.
However, unlike games like Resistance and stuff, you're not actually voting out each other as much as the other members of the NPCs in your bunker.
It's almost like you're controlling a group of people playing the Resistance. Yes. Sort of, or Mafia or Werewolf or that kind of thing. So as you can see, you've got this setup right here. There's a clock in the center which keeps track of the game turns. And then there are going to be 6 people that you're trying to, each round, interrogate in a different way. Which is essentially just following their text, and you get to look at one of their traits.
Right, because these are different people, they respond to interrogation differently. For example, the child, once you interrogate her, doesn't want to talk to anyone anymore.
They get exhausted for half the game.
However, someone maybe like the scientist is able to keep one thing secret. You can't view everything. So there's a lot of not just playing the interrogating card, just look at the cards, but like, how can I use his ability to my best effect?
Yeah, which one should I look at? What did the person before me look at? What does that mean?
Or maybe, because some of them actually swap with other ones, you might be more of, which ones can I start to switch out to make people lose information?
Right, so all that kind of stuff going on. This is also a super quick game. It only takes maybe 10-15 minutes to play a game. It goes up to 6 players, and also as a 2-player mode. We tried it with 2, 3, and 6.
Yeah.
So we got the full spectrum, and I think we'll talk about 2 players in a minute, because that's really interesting, because usually these kinds of games don't let you do that. But we start with the full group of 6, and how that felt. I liked it a lot. It's very different from a lot of those games like the Resistance, although it has much of the same DNA. The way that you're thinking and what you're doing is pretty unique.
What happens is, the way all the games work, except for 2, but we'll get to 2, is you'll interrogate someone, you'll exhaust them so the next person can't question them, and then you vote, actually you're supposed to start with this one, on who you think is a cultist. And then as you slowly move around, eventually you'll hit a red cube. And once all the cubes go out, whoever has the most is voted out. Now, in the 6-player game, this means everyone has 2 turns. And in that one, I was the last. So I had both red cubes. I was the final decider for both of them. And this becomes really interesting. And this, of course, depends on abilities, too.
Yes, which everybody has their own secret, special, one-time ability, which is unique to themselves. So this could be something like you get to move a cube after somebody voted for someone, or you get to interrogate 2 people in a row on your turn.
Right, but the trick of the game in the 6-player version for me, I was a civilian, so not a cultist. So for me was to try my best to look. I really did have to watch all your voting as the anchor. I mean, if I was a cultist, that'd be different probably. But that's why it was very weird, because I only had 2 turns, and not only were they 2 turns, they were the 2 final, in essence.
Yeah, there's a lot of
pressure on you. For me, and you were the first, I think.
Yeah, I was.
So we were like the beginning. So we both were like, you had to see how everyone voted, because once you did it, you had no information.
It's also definitely a game where the first time you play it, if you not knowing what all the traits are and do, there's a lot of information you don't have that in later games you're going to be drawing on.
And I think we actually saw that in our 6-3. I want to mention our 6-player game. We the civilians, you were a civilian too.
Yeah.
Almost won. But it turned out, because we had a card, our cultist that was left had the dog, who cancels out the cultist card, unless the dog goes away. Because if the cat is adjacent to the dog, they run out together.
So yeah, it's not as simple as, oh, this guy has a cultist card, they need to go. Sometimes it is, but sometimes there are also those cards, like you said, where you have to think, well, if this is in this position, then it's bad, but if it's in that position, it's okay. And then we did try it with 2 players, which was very interesting because it changes in that you actually get a new identity card halfway through the game. So you could start as a civilian and become a cultist. And we should also mention that up to 4 players, it's possible for there not to be any cultists among the, I want to say humans, among the player-controlled players.
Right, the way it works is you shuffle 5 cards, 1 cultist, 4 humans.
Right, depending on number, it changes depending on number of players. But so like in our 2-player game, for instance, we could have both been on the same team or not, but we didn't know that.
I actually thought we were until the very end. Like the last move is the only time I thought you were bad.
Well, it was very interesting because there's only 2 of us, I was way more hesitant to give out any information halfway through.
Okay. So yeah, no, same thing. No, I was okay once I reached halfway, because I knew you weren't gonna switch on me.
Right.
Like what's done is done. Other big thing about the 2-player you didn't mention, it doesn't have as many cubes.
Right.
So some turns you don't get to place cubes down.
Yeah, so you really have to think about who you want to vote for and when, which in some ways was a relief because I was like, oh, I don't have to give anything away about what I think this round because there's no reason for me to.
So what do you think about the game overall?
I mean, I really like it. It's to have a game like this, a hidden roll deduction game that does accommodate from 2 to 6 players is a rare thing. So I think if you like games like Werewolf and the Resistance, it's great to have that option available to you if you only have 2 people, for example. It's really quick, easy to learn, easy to teach.
I do really like, and this is what's important, I think that the traits aren't different. Like you always have the same traits out, while these do change. So ability-wise, technically, you're thinking different strategies, but you know the same pieces.
Yes, yeah.
Because I think if these changed, it'd almost be like, I don't know if Doomsayer's in this, I don't know if the dog's in this, like...
Yeah, I agree. I do, if there were like maybe another set,
oh, no, like specific, like,
make sure these 2 are always together. Yeah,
Isn't there a game that does something like that?
Like 2 Rooms and a Boom does that. But based on Private Die's Kickstarter, which was their Mystic Ape's previous game, I assume they will have, for stretch goals and things, a bunch of different survivors, maybe some extra traits, stuff like that, because they were pretty good about that.
Yeah, I mean, I really do. I think the traits are perfectly balanced the way they are, or at least for me, for both sides. Because even if you get, which our 3-player game, we didn't realize, we got both cultist cards out.
For the same guy.
Yeah, which is really impressive, because I thought I was doing a backup plan with a Doomsayer.
He was really evil.
Yeah, but these I think would be where a lot of the fun came from for me. Was not knowing where the codes, but more like, how can I manipulate? Okay, maybe if I push 1 to the left or 1 to the right, like. I would be and knowing, as you said, Private Die. I think that's where they can come with some more fun, enjoyable ones. Yeah,
I agree. Yeah, we liked it. If you like hidden roll deduction games with maybe a little, I also feel like this game has a little less of, there's not quite as much pressure where in Resistance or Battlestar, you're like sweating if you're a Cylon, at least I am, or even if you're not trying to find out who it is. In this one, you're a little bit more removed, so it's not quite as intense feeling. It's a little lighter in that sense. But if you like that kind of thing, I mean, it's
I definitely
pocket-sized game, really.
Compared to the light-sized trader mechanic games. I mean, I haven't played One Night, Ultimate Werewolf and stuff. I feel like this does stand out a bit more from the Resistance and stuff.
Yeah, it's definitely does its own thing.
And it's not, because I feel with the Resistance in those, that's more theatrical. Like I'm trying to hide, like I don't feel it in this one as much.
Yeah.
The most you can say is this person's not a cultist or is a cultist. It's not like voting or explaining why you think they vote. Like, well,
which you can do.
Right. But even if you know you're cultist, to me this is more like manipulation.
It's a little more clinical, a little more logic-based than emotion-based, perhaps.
But definitely, I think you should definitely check it out if those are your cup of tea.
We will put a link to the Kickstarter below, as well as Mystic Ape's website, so be sure to check it out. We think it's awesome. Until next time, I'm Jonathan Estes.
And I'm the cultist, known as Will Keeler, and this has been a Roll for Crit preview.